So thank you for joining us on the last day, midday, appreciate it, Ryan. My name is Jeanne. I'm CEO at VirtualZ. VirtualZ and Pellera are partners. VirtualZ is the independent software vendor that develops the software that we're talking about today. Specifically a product called FlowZ and a product called Zaac. So we're the manufacturer of that software product, and Pellera will pull the solution together for you, either as a managed service provider, basically delivering our software as a service to you, or if you want our software on premises in your organization, then they can help you pull the whole solution together end to end with everything that you need to make the solution work. We have 4 software products at VirtualZ. They're all about data access, accessing data in real time. So you're going to hear things like, we can send you our software today, you can install it today, and you can share data today. No coding out of the box. And Jerry has done this at Pellera with our software, so we'll talk a little bit about how that works. But all of our solutions are related to data access. We're going to focus on storage today, but there's many use cases for our solution. Anytime you need access to cloud data for Mainframe apps, or access to Mainframe data for cloud apps, our solution solve those problems for the first time out of the box. So we're going to focus on Mainframe storage in this session. Jerry's going to start by talking about how mainframe storage works today. Len's going to talk about how mainframe storage works without software, how that's different. We have a product demonstration that will play through you. It's a pre-recorded demonstration with Vince Ray, our CTO, who's on the webinar with us. It's being recorded, by the way. And we'll go through the product demonstration, and then we'll go through Q&A. Before we jump in, does anybody have any comments or questions or anything you should be aware of?
Any storage administration? Good,
Okay, so I'll turn it over to Jerry to talk a little bit about existing storage methods.
So, I'm using more data. You have a couple of different scenarios. One is, when I add this to my current control, you're taking control of the UBC, it's still so I but you have to add on this to the existing controller, you have to add this and controller to more complicated. But you also have to get the configurations, figure out what design you want to use for the SAK or the dash, and you have to match that with the items, and you got to you deal with the items and set everything up correctly. So you can see your address is correct, the whole controller and everything's all done. Then you have to activate that. Hopefully, you still have dynamic application. If somebody didn't go screw it up, that important. If you don't have to be alarms, not fun. And then once you get that done, then you don't have to go through all of this piece, make sure it's all working. You've got it as areas, or you've got it to your system management. You have typically it takes a couple of months to get that done, and when the box is deployed, what time do you have? So it can be like a laborious process. And if you do not experience it, it's even more difficult. You have benefits to have to match what is done in the SAK or the data device. They have to match. So if they're obviously doesn't match, that's right. You need to get access to the data. So it's really, you really have to work hard with the person using the SAK to get their system along with the person in the item and along with the guy in the data. So it's really tough to get that. It's not hard, but it's not a 1 day or 2 days, more like 2 months or 2 weeks, 2 months plus minimum expertise. Okay? It's also, you have to consider your DR, you have to consider how much to set up, and it is expensive. Not one of those things that you just go, to your boss, they can bring it in, it's going to be one of the CDO. But we didn't plan for it, that's even harder thing to do. As you see, there's a lot of things that we're doing. I'm going to go through all of them, but to give you a basic idea, it's not a simple installation. It's difficult. Take this in your product, take it takes a lot more. Automated tech drivers are a lot more difficult to set up. Don't take longer. And you have to set the whole elements. But so there's a whole chunk you want to add that, this is fine. It's logical. So, having said that, I know my coworker, so I already have run Jeanne, I work with Jeanne, whatever. And, what I like about VirtualZ is it really addresses complexity of trying to do this kind of work on your systems today. It has a number of tools that you're going to see with Vince discussed with you, Zach and FlowZ and so on and so forth. But the point being is that whether you're trying to access data outside of the system, organize something outside of the system, access data on the mainframe, it's very transparent. And Jeanne's actually, it's really very quick, almost completely effortless. And it's from a business perspective, it brings a lot of value because it is very well priced. And how you get up to achieve, she speaks so probably about some of the potential pricing. It's not that forever pricing, it's like one time like a shot, just very nice to know when you got it. Yeah, and this is the way the Spanish people file is from VirtualZ. You download it, what they talk about, you want to and you put it in USS and create CFS software, put it in CFS. Now, unzip it, it's ready to go. So you're talking instead of 2 weeks to 3 weeks or 2 months, you're only in less than 2 hours. From there, it's a simple integration with the connection. So if you have something, let's say the business needs just some temporary data, temporary storage, your programming. This is a great solution for that. But we've set up, get it like the next day for a day, you do it all 7 months. Then every guy you can describe. So, questions about that? That's what most eventually looks at the product install, I call it more.
Yeah.
And so that means to do it, it's just a matter of how you get it anyway, we can just run it. Well, we have all heard the word hybrid. Right? Can't go anywhere without hearing it. And, you know, some of the clients, I work with a lot of Wall Street clients. And practices, some of them actually have done this, of hybrid, setups, and being able to plug into a type of design, close anything that is, as we're about to talk about more of this. Real, this system for VirtualZ is really quite remarkable. For the discussion considered very strongly. So another good example would be, let's say I have a developer and they want to spin up virtual images for it. It's very good this backup, something that is written once and never read it. Another solution for things like that, and the temporary fix, backup. I mean, things that with the application doesn't really necessarily need. We can also have this from the VR perspective as well. Reconnected.
So can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to try to just illustrate it, and then we'll come back to the on-premise option and the as a service option. So today, if you need more mainframe storage, you first have to scope the storage requirement, which that alone can be difficult to do, just figuring out how much to order. Once you place your order, then it ships, it arrives, you unbox it, you configure it, and some months and quite a few dollars later, you have storage. If you bought too much storage, you've wasted money. If you've purchased too little storage, you have to start all over and rescope. Okay, how much do we need to add? Place the order, ship the order, receive the order, set it up, and then you have storage. With FlowZ and Zaac, instead of all of that, you just go to your keyboard. You spin up an instance in S3 or your platform of choice, and that cloud storage looks acts, and feels just like the physical device. So Vince often tells us, Vince is the original author of CA Top Secret and head of development behind what's primarily in the Broadcom portfolio today. During his 35 plus year career at Computer Associates, he led development of what's now in the Broadcom portfolio. And Vince often tells us that when he was at Computer Associates leading development, sometimes he would need storage just for 2 weeks, and it would take him 6 months to get it. With Zaac or FlowZ, he just goes to his keyboard, spins up storage, uses it for 2 weeks, pays for it for 2 weeks, and then turns it off. Microsoft has come to us with a customer who has a short-term need for storage, 12 months. They can spin the storage up in the cloud in Azure, use it for 12 months, and spin it down. So this is mainframe storage on demand. It's dynamic. You set it up and you spin it up and down from your keyboard. Any questions about that?
You make a point. Actually, hopefully do the right estimation on how much you get and then you have to be studying, you have to go get approved and find it, get it ordered, get it on the floor, get it set up, get it, get the power turned up. So yeah, I was going with the time that it's on the floor.
Yeah,
I apologize for missing.
Yeah.
But that could be at least 12 months as well.
yeah, that's right.
So the fastest I look at it from before, it's about a month. So this is instantaneous, pretty much.
So the two options are on premise. So if you wanted to install Zaac or FlowZ, and we'll explain the difference between the two here in a minute, which Vince, I'm going to defer to you on that. If you needed FlowZ or Zaac, Pellera could implement for you, configure for you, get everything up and running for you. But also, if you just want to tap into storage as a service, you could outsource storage from Pellera as a managed service provider. Does that make sense? So now you can outsource storage if you prefer. And it could, go ahead.
There's a lot of options. All over.
So Vince, would you mind covering flows and then contrast that with use cases for Zaac, and then we'll play the demo. So right now we're on flows.
Sure. So both products are actually very similar. The real difference is what the mainframe application senses as the interface. With flows, you could think of it as point to point. You see a particular file in the ZOS file system. You read and write that file, and what you're really doing is reading and writing some non-mainframe data source, as Jeanne described. That could be in the cloud, that could be in a network attached storage device or a SAN device, right in your own data center. It could be a combination of all of the above, could be, really the sky's the limit here. Your mainframe application, though, would just see, and you'll see this in the demo, you would just see a local file that looks and behaves and acts like any other mainframe file, and your IO to that file is transparently redirected to whatever target you configure for it. So because of that, that makes it really drop dead simple. Again, you'll see this in the demo. You can be up and running in literally minutes. There's no real considerations at the ZOS level in terms of, special setup that you have to do, and, on and on and on. It's really just install the software, create those endpoints, that file system object that you're going to use to communicate to the cloud, and your applications can read and write data to the cloud. Now, one small thing I'll mention quickly is that this is a wonderful approach for data sharing. Yeah, the idea that a lot of customers share with us is that they got applications in the cloud. It could be, it could be anything. It could be custom apps. It could be, Workday. It could be, whatever it happens to be. And they're creating data and files and so forth that you want to be able to process from mainframe applications, and vice versa. You might have mainframe application data that needs to be processed by cloud applications. So FlowZ allows you to do what I'm describing, create that kind of binding between mainframe data and cloud data, or wherever the data is, and that data could be shared on both sides. It could be you know written from the cloud, read by a mainframe application. It could be created by a mainframe application and consumed by a cloud application. Any of that's possible. And we could talk about data transformation and so forth. I don't want to have a lengthy discussion there, but the idea is that both sides of that pipe get to see the data in whatever format is easiest for them. So you want EBCDIC data on the mainframe and ASCII on the cloud side. That's possible. You want complicated structured data on the mainframe and JSON objects or XML on the cloud. That's possible too. And just about anything you could imagine is possible there. So that's FlowZ. And honestly, the heart of what I'm describing is very similar to our Zaac product. It's same support for targets. You want to go to a network attached storage device that's built into Zaac too. If you want to go to different cloud providers, we actually use the same set of, I call them drivers, to connect to the targets. And a driver that can work with Zaac will also work with FlowZ. The difference with Zaac, though, is that instead of just having kind of a, a, a file system object on ZOS that you communicate through, you actually have something that, as Jeanne described it, it looks all the world like a mainframe virtual disk or virtual tape volume. So, the way this works is you install Zaac, you do a little bit of configuration, and you say, create this virtual device number and make it appear as wherever you want, a 3390 dash whatever mainframe device. And all of the I/O to that device, I want redirected through a particular driver to a particular target. So what that means is that from the application's point of view, it behaves just like it's talking to any other mainframe disk or tape device. So the implications of that are, if I want to create, let's say a vSAM file that's backed by cloud storage, I can do that. If I want to create I don't know, a DB2 or an IMS database, or database for a vendor product, or whatever it is, that can be backed by cloud storage now. Everything about that virtual disk is identical to how you'd interact with a physical disk. So even applications doing low-level I/O, EXCP and all of that stuff will continue to work against Zaac virtual volume. So it's exactly what Jeanne described, and it's probably something that most of you are familiar with on other platforms. On a Windows server, if you run out of storage, you can go get an Amazon S3 driver. You can connect to S3 and create as much virtual storage in the cloud as you want. It behaves all the world like it's just another physical disk. That's what we've brought to the mainframe here. So the only I'm not sure I call it a drawback, but the difference here is that number one, because of that orientation around virtual disk, this isn't as oriented towards file sharing as FlowZ is. You know, my goal is to write a mainframe file to the cloud that I'm going to process in another application in the cloud. Zach's going to make that hard for you because the format of what exists in the cloud is virtualization of a mainframe disk volume. And most applications aren't going to know what to do with that. So this is more for the case that Jeanne described, where you're looking for cost savings, you're looking for agility. I need, a few terabytes of storage for a few weeks, or whatever those kind of needs are. This is the answer to that. If your goal is data sharing on kind of a long-term basis, or you've got applications all over the place, then we'd probably steer you more towards the FlowZ solution. Same concepts, same approach, same support for pretty much the same targets. It's just the difference is all in what the application sees. So anyway, Jeanne, did I miss anything big that I should cover, or you think that's good?
That's good, Vince. So a couple things here. We have a question.
Can VirtualZ tier the storage, like move older files that are directly on the mainframe out to say cloud and say they haven't been accessed in a week?
So the question is, can VirtualZ tier the offsite storage or the other storage? Like archiving.
Vince, did you hear the question and can you answer the question?
Yeah, so as far as tiering goes, understand that one of the really cool and unique things about both FlowZ and VirtualZ is that those targets can all, many of them can coexist at the same time. So you can have targets that are, I don't know, super high performance, maybe it's a end device right in your own data center, and it's 20 feet from your mainframe and it gives you blinding performance. The other extreme, you can have things that are like Amazon Glacier that are, super low cost, but not the same performance. There are a variety of ways that you can segregate what data goes where. Thankfully, most of that's built into ZOS, so we don't really have to do any of that. You would use DFSMS to create different storage classes and so forth, and then you could pick and choose what goes where based on what those targets are. One of the other things I'll point out is a common need that we hear a lot is in, especially if you're concerned about fault tolerance and so forth. One of the things we can do with both products is we can duplex or actually nplex. So, you actually could have copy of the data going to Amazon, a copy going to a local device in your data center, a copy going to Azure, whatever you want to do that way is, definitely possible with the structures that we provide. So huge amount of flexibility in that. And the best thing is that you've thought through this on your own, for your own data center. If you're using, for instance, SMS and HSM, and you've created all of those policies, we work right with that. We're just a different target. You would push that data to, physically it's going to be a Zaac volume instead of, whatever you're doing today. But you don't have to start with a clean sheet with that. If you've got a lot of that already, then we should fit right into that very cleanly. And I think that's certainly a place where I would imagine our friends at Pellera can help a lot. They have that background, we have that background, and I think that's one of the other benefits of working with us is that we can offer some guidance through there.
Thank you, Vince.
say something real quick. I think this is very, please keep it, but for FlowZ is that the data set element mostly. So you create that, the applications are right to it, it reads from it. Where that works on the volume, you've got a vertical volume set of whatever modernized you need or whatever. And that can be used either depending on what storage you look back in. So the archive will be one together, so you can do for that, do that for you to correct it if you want. Did I say anything wrong, difference?
No, I actually didn't catch all of that. A lot of echoes there, but what I heard seems spot on.
Okay.
Okay, a couple things. All of our software installs is run on the IBM Z platform. There's no hardware or anything. All of our software is disabled, so it won't consume your main capacity of your mainframe. FlowZ is licensed on an annual subscription, unlimited usage, $50,000. So we could send you FlowZ today. You could install it today. You could share files today and for the next 12 months for $50,000, no questions asked, unlimited use. Doesn't matter how many LVARs, how many files you share, no company. $50,000 for 12 months for FlowZ, no questions asked. That, obviously more robust product that Vince talked about, is licensed based on the volume of data moving back and forth. And our pricing is all publicly available on our website. So if you go to our website, there's a pricing tab, it just lists right there on the pricing for all of our stuff. Before we get to the demo, a couple of other use cases that I wanted to talk about. So we have 4 products. Propels is out of the box ETL. So instead of programmers taking Informatica and Kafka and lots of other products and creating a spider web looking diagram and then programming it, and in a year from now sharing data, I could send you Propels today. Again, $50,000 for the year, no questions asked. You could install Propels today, and you could share data today with any application. Splunk. So we have a customer feeding mainframe data into Splunk for PCI 4.0 compliance. Working on that project this week. A major mainframe outsourcer has integrated Propels with Snowflake for a customer, and they're now integrating Propels with Databricks for a customer. So Propels is out of the box ETL, no programming. For $50,000 a year, you can send it this data to Snowflake, and this data to SageMaker, and this data to Power BI, and this data to Tableau, and this data to Splunk. You send as much data as you want, wherever you want, how often you want, for the next 12 months for $50,000, no questions asked.
And that works off the data set level.
That's data, whereas FlowZ is files.
So you're writing for data set, and then it's not picked up by Propels, you need to look at the database. Converts it, whatever you need to.
And then all the data transformation and so forth. FlowZ, and if you have governance requirements, where you cannot move the data off the mainframe, have to stay on the mainframe, but the application to read and write the data on the mainframe, that's FlowZ. The FlowZ of the data doesn't move. It's not replicated. It stays on the mainframe, and your mainframe apps are reading and writing it, and your cloud apps are reading and writing it as it appears. Whereas Propels is moving the data, the Snowflake. With FlowZ, Snowflake is accessing the data in the program, and the data is on me.
But question for Vince, what data types are supported in that, in FlowZ? vSend, DB2, what type of data types are supported?
Yeah, so typically what we see is that those and the targets are files, so QSAM files, Quench files, GDGs, tapes, VSAM of all different types, et cetera, et cetera. We, at least this far, we've stayed away from things like DB2 data because, frankly, there are existing solutions there. DB2 comes with a reasonable JDBC capability. So if you want remote access to DB2 tables, you're probably doing something like that. And if you're not doing that, there's probably 100 other vendor products that do that. We didn't want to compete there, at least not initially. So the other thing I would point out is there's also the applications view of the data. LOSN presents a file-oriented approach. So you do open, close, read, write to access your mainframe data. And really, what our secret sauce is that it doesn't kind of dumb down that access. If you want to do something like write a Linux application that opens a mainframe VSAM file and searches for a handful of records by their keys and then reads the results, we absolutely can do that. And it doesn't involve transferring terabytes of data, it's just the records that you touch. So it's like getting the full mainframe VSAM and non-VSAM file system APIs available to applications wherever they run, mainframe, non-mainframe, mobile devices, wherever you need that access, you can do that sort of thing. Is that clear?
Yeah, so basically you take a PD, I have VSAM files out there that I would share, but I wouldn't have like an online application. I could share that VSAM file with a database, an SQL database, have the application, you can write into it, and have that VSAM file actually be used by an application on API or whatever.
And
No,
if you want to talk about the support for profiles, because profiles has broader support.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, a lot of times it comes down to what does your application want to do? If your application is comfortable to do a SQL query, then Propels is a wonderful solution. If you have a big investment in file system structures, then either FlowZ or LOSN would probably be more appropriate for that kind of sharing.
So yeah, if you think about that, I have some clients that have a lot of VSAM files, but it's only accessible through the access points, for example. A lot of banks have it. So now I can set up the VSAM files with the tools, and now I can have an application that wants to get access to that data directly. And I can have that VSAM file access off the mainframe with very little overhead or very little time to get up to speed. But that's actually some very large data groups from who's got you can go there quickly this way.
And so Propels will support DB2, IBM Z, IMS, other data types as well. Okay, so back to some of the use cases. I wanted to cover that before I went to this use case. So we do have a customer that actually Google brought to us, tape to cloud migration. So decommissioning tape, moving that data to the cloud is another storage based use case for Propels. And then another use case would be for Zaac to embed your mainframe DevOps into GitHub. So just a couple of other use cases for these products. And once you have these products, you can multi-purpose them. You can use Zaac for instant mainframe storage and for GitHub. You can use Propels for Snowflake and for Power BI. Once you have these products, you do with them whatever your use case is. We don't license based on use case. We license Propels and FlowZ on flat fee, $50,000 per year, and LOSN and Zaac on the data quality back.
This is regulatory. The other UPS, we have all the platforms that are being done in their right, never used. There's a perfect difference with an answer. And 3x on the space in your VPN. That's one use case, but there's a lot of use cases for this tool.
Yeah, so let's go to the demo. The demo is going to show flows. The demos are available on our website and on our YouTube channel. what you see here would look exactly the same for Zaac as for FlowZ. You wouldn't really know the difference, but we're going to show the FlowZ demo today. That's right. Okay.
And then let's make this table back. Flow that, like, relevant, and you'll figure it restructure, on the video. The flow product is pretty links and stuff, from literally seconds. When we talk about usually productive stuff, the same thing is package, we're not that. So, one of the easiest things to make better something for what we're doing. Now, the demo today, we're going to look at each better can be able to set an environment in this case that has a physical setting device that's set up to be acceptable to the AI system. What we're looking at here is basically the control panel or desktop that comes with the software and state running enterprise. And what I've done at this point is that the configuration has link to my main folder in the so as you know, we're very shared directory. It's going to create a folder that we call FlowZ. And, of course, it could be anything, you could do this a lot of different ways, this is one example. And of course, we could pull off the thing, this is mostly more regarding the manufacturing directory. That, I'm going to do a little bit of better on CLS. Probably most important thing that I can make my main is that folder that gets created. This is done with the normal map. I can specify whatever columns the name of the system, logical name, and CLS is going to know this file, and information that so we can specify that and specify that I want to read access, and then specify where the file and that form is taking the extension, so I have the address and the name of the folder we just created, documents, a lot of ways to be done. This is one example. Automate this with one
comment. Most people develop or person in you up from using like that, figure out and you like that. Does not have access to the map. This might be done by your store. Right? Could be requirements for people use their access to the map. Unless they set it up so they can do that. But let's try. Sorry, thanks so much.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Totally just showing us kind of simple way and going on. So that's my command, and when they enter that command, then fraction of a second later, it works authenticated means it doesn't all the things that mass steps. So it's returning question. I can use the display button. Does see starting map by second as the component flow.
So just want them to know, just like in case you guys don't know what this means, but the map file is the name on COS and USS. It's NS height, which is the file system. And it's the mount point on COS and then the farm is in the remote server. So it's the remote server and then the path to that remote record. Okay? Sorry, just want to make sure we understood that.
Perfect.
So with the map point created, now I can use FlowZ to create, and I think that was local file system object on ZOS, so it connect ZOS to that to that same source that was created. So here, man, you see here, there's nothing complicated, but it does specify the local type file, and that's the name that I can reference the storage group, and then specify the target. In this case, it's static target, but it doesn't have to be a static target, it could be a dynamic thing. You know, think almost like a DVD, that name changes every time it's active, username, date, you know, whatever you use to be connected to. And I see, you know, where it is, and I see, the creation of the object that for together, we maintain the seconds of all of this. So, you know, we see, FlowZ statics that will be created if we actually access data there, we would see byte counts and all of that. So we do a really simple come back and see a subset. We use some data to copy a little bit of mainframe data to that.
So if you look at this, how many people know you can write to a US directory file? Yeah, so he's got it there, this is copying the IBM Z, which is the decision one to improve involved. He's copying the decision one to the SS file, and then this on the yeah.
Thank you, Jerry.
I forgot he did that, so my fault.
And, now I got data back on the second line. Let's go look at that. Back on the second desktop, I'm going to, head back into the file over here and see what we have. Session on mainframe. I have the FlowZ distribution, as you can see, and then let's take to the single box command. We can explode that, archive, we run.
Bring it back to start.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened there. I didn't even notice it. Sorry about that.
And, now, data back.
What's happening?
Look at that.
Who's that?
Back on the same desktop to, back into the file.
Okay.
And I see what we did, the 8 by 5 on my phone. And that's exactly the data that we sent to it with that case, the property, the timestamp, security information, all of that is visible at this level. So, having the application, running in the cloud, running the data is there for him. Basically, it's depending on what we put into with capability there. Certainly, I'm moving modeling, I can do command line functions, I can also do. So, we created I think it was a pivotal command, let's do something maybe a little more complicated than that. What we're going to do now is we're going to create, say 25, so we can create a 35. We're going to create something and we're going to take a system backup to this system. So I'm creating a pipe here called mine desktop and I'm mapping it to mine dump on my Santalucia. You can see the results that we looked at before, there's names, and now we got that. So I'm going to go back again to here code and KPL. I'm going to run IBM DFPS customer story. Now, to make it work that with FlowZ, there are a couple of small things I can do. First of all, instead of running the normal programming, we changed that FlowZ ES60. It's basically a small, API example using the FPX set, so we can load the FPX set and execute it through FlowZ, which allows us to actually rapidly interact with the audience. In this case, we have a step line, and that's what we have to do, and the party solve, see how in the file you would create the programs to running the data job. But the key is that I've created a special use statement, closed up, LSD done. And I point that, you can just simply follow that in general, and come back to the point that I'm creating, counterpart storage devices. The other is the standard stop DFDSS. If I wanted to, I could write down in parallel with the local cloud and we have a virtual tape or whatever else, as well as in standby faculty do that. And this is keeping dummy because frankly we don't have this space to hold do big copies of stuff. But the control statements we're taking on this is volume called B3S1 that happens to be a 3390. We're going to take a full volume up and we're going to use the hardware question feature on the system platform. And all of the control statements, everything that matters is exactly it's just that we
So the hardware compression at the bottom, if you don't have some UPC cards, then turn it on, it's going to use process. Correct that correct.
that we can program is that we can intersect the I have the so I submitted that to we can kind of launch it right. This is a 3390 disk volume, so it's in order of the device. We can see it running here, it's struggling along, it's doing its thing. You can see thousands of IOs per second being issued here. And we actually can look at the output and we can confirm this before this about and have the stream for you here. And that's it, it's done. In our testing, we find that a 3390 this volume can be done to our SAN device in about a minute and 20 seconds. If I look at the output here, I see that in 24 seconds. So, again, keep in mind, our development environment is very small, very big system. If I toggle back to the second desktop, I see the dump that we just created. I see that it's 1.63 gigabytes during the time that we were, and again, I want to be clear, we're running on the ZPT system, basically the OS on, we have a hardware processor, desktop PC, the SAN environment we have, the little baby thing that we do testing, it's not like industrial grade. So, we did dump that 1.63 gigabytes in about a minute. And it is exactly what we expected to be. I think if you went into these, you would be.
Okay. Yep.
And that is, you up that and when you do it that, further all once it's transferred, things are back but they on that.
Oh, no, that was it. I was just gonna wrap up. That really completes the material that we had prepared for today, based on storage cases for any questions.
You also have YouTube videos on Zach and.
We do, yeah, we have a robust, repository of blogs, videos, demos, webinars. Yeah.
And when you mentioned that these, we can see the resources on the audio website, you mean virtually putting the
Correct.
on the website?
Virtually,
Yeah,
yeah.
part of the thing on.
But if you're looking to actually license our software, you would license it from.
It was in Pellera.com. We got both.
And it's suppose any of the integration with VirtualZ or FlowZ or something. They exactly when the right business will provide
Through VirtualZ.
Yeah.
You could just store it there, or you could outsource there, we have an outsourcing company, we want to support our products, for you, yeah, relationship, we'll put it together. But we would support, unless we had it for.
I mean, if you say within the normal parameters, we kind of see the many months which you can pretty straightforward. Try something to drive, maybe, but, you know, it might be something that, there might be some kind of database that they may not actually see before, like, problem. I haven't seen communities from that, of course, all software with both. So, as most people try, not just public, there's only, always been on the public.
It's that kind of interesting because the POCs that we've done, we usually, send the customer software and you say, great, you'll have the top authors in. Well, 100% of the time, we've got from the kickoff call, we've got the software installed. So it's just very straightforward, but we'll support you.
Yeah, and if you look at the card file, excellent. Now, help me use the card. And it does use some super user access to do it right. And then after that, you can take it down and have fun. But there are some nuances to it, but it's in the documentation.
We also have consulting services, so management consulting from a customer from the safety product migration because there are some issues. And we cover them.
How frequently do you provide an update to these things?
It's how frequently would we say we provide an update?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that question.
The question is, how often, if a customer has hotels installed or FlowZ installed, how often would they expect to receive a new release or an updated release?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we generally, I mean, certainly it varies depending on what's going on with the customers. Generally, we would do, a minimum of, twice a year. Sometimes it's more than that, depending on, circumstances. Sometimes we, for instance, our FlowZ product is our newest product, and we're kind of in that stage where we're adding new target support, and that's resulting in relatively frequent releases. FlowZ is our oldest product, and it's probably every 6 months or so is what we're generally seeing there.
As we have moved the data, you say way that will change after 24 hours or something, you automatically place. Or once it has been sent, it has been checked.
You can certainly schedule the contract, you can do that for you. But I'm considering the tool to do that right now. But yeah, I mean, since you have access to both sides, you have access to the OS, we're going to schedule it on the top of those somewhere else you want. Yeah, as long as you have connection to the yes. Remember, all this comes from the OS. All your GS comes from the still there, scheduler, all those things are there. Okay?
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for joining us.